Hello and welcome to our Celebrate Black History Leadership Spotlight presented by the Ford Motor Company Fund. On this series, we've been interviewing social innovators that we respect, that are doing great work, and asking for their insight on empowerment as we reflect on the past and collaborate to build a better future. I'm Cynthia Jones, Director of Museum Experiences and Engagement at the Henry Ford, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Gaynell Swan, Vice President of Engineering at Stanley Black & Decker. Welcome, Gaynell.
Thanks, Cynthia. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be with you again today.
This is great. So we had a wonderful time together last October during our Maker series, and I can't wait to go even deeper with you today. It's just wonderful. For those who might not be familiar with you and your background and your role there at Stanley Black & Decker, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Absolutely. And thanks, Cynthia. Let me first get this one out of the way. I am an identical twin. There's no surprise there. So if I start saying we's, you'll know why. I'm second generation Tuskegee graduate with a rich Tuskegee legacy. I received my bachelor's in electrical engineering from Tuskegee University and my master's in electrical engineering and industrial and systems engineering from Georgia Tech. I'm passionate about a lot of things, but at the heart of it, making a positive difference every day, at home, at work, and in my community. And as Vice President of Engineering within our Global Tools and Storage business segment here at Stanley Black & Decker, I've had the tremendous opportunity to lead our Global Storage Solutions engineering team, our margin resiliency and performance cross-functional teams, and lead a major global data, foundational, and infrastructure initiative for the company. I enjoy spending time with my family, all types of sports. I watch just about everything. I do just a handful. Primarily, I ski with my son, who's a snowboarder, and I'm absolutely fanatical about the Olympics, winter, summer, and Special Olympics. I love to travel. I love live music and entertainment, and food. Who doesn't love food?
I love it. I love, you're such a well-rounded person, and I think that's I bet that offers a lot in your role there. I think sometimes people think engineers are a little narrow on their interests, and you totally proved that wrong. So I love that about you.
Thanks.
I know that one of the things that you've been really involved in there at Stanley Black & Decker is really thinking about employee resource groups and the ways that they can help empower employee growth, but also have an impact. Can you tell us about your involvement?
Absolutely. So I serve as the Global Steering Committee leader for our African Ancestry Network Employee Resource Group, as well as the executive sponsor of our Maryland chapter. We are one of 9 employee resource groups here at Stanley Black & Decker, and they're all employee-led, self-directed, volunteer groups of like-minded, passionate individuals who, as a collective, we serve as catalysts and change agents to advance our diversity, inclusion, and belonging initiatives and driving that culture change within Stanley Black & Decker. We aim to provide positive business and career outcomes for our members and our allies, and our goal really is to enrich the professional and leadership development within the African Ancestry Network, as well as our allies through the pillars of career, professional development, recruitment, retention, that allows us to grow in our careers, culture, celebrating our rich history, sharing our stories and our experiences so that we bring our authentic identities and self to work every day. And then community and commerce, where we participate in outreach and engagement to make a difference, again, where we live and where we work.
That's awesome. I'm so inspired by that. And I think, I suspect it ties together with something we had talked about last October during Maker Month, where, we had talked about how Stanley Black & Decker was investing and kind of helping people gain skills to really fulfill some of the current and future job openings. Yes. Is the African Ancestry Network, are you kind of behind some of that work? Are you investing with any folks in any communities you want to share about?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our community pillar is principal, and we're actually making the connections between community and commerce to participate in the communities that in efforts and partnerships with our community and business leaders that truly change the trajectory of our disenfranchised communities. A couple of examples I'd like to share with you is our Black Women Build Baltimore group. They are the recipient of one of our 2022 Race Equity Roadmap donations, partnered with the Women's Network here in Maryland. It's a wonderful example of intersectional partnership all around. They are a home ownership and wealth building initiative that trains Black women in the trades, carpentry, electrical, plumbing, by restoring vacant and deteriorated houses in West Baltimore. And the goal is to create opportunities for Black women and for their communities, for them and for their communities to thrive. Another great initiative that our African Ancestry Network Chicago team is partnered with is Urban Market Exchange. It's estimated that there are literally thousands of artisans and makers on the south side of Chicago without the necessary brick and mortar and business support tools and training that they need to be successful. And so without that presence, ultimately those businesses are failing. And so Urban Market Exchange is addressing that gap in the Chicagoland area, starting on the south side, by creating a makerspace. The Fabrication and Business Center, in order to provide that unique and collaborative environment where traditionally economically disadvantaged and minority enterprises can get together, can come and design, create, innovate, conduct their business, manufacture their goods on site in a safe space, and also a place where those entrepreneurs can connect with the community, provide training opportunities in a safe and convenient location that then uplifts that entire community. So together, we're dedicated to bringing those economic possibilities and opportunities to those communities to build a thriving business economy right there in those neighborhoods.
Incredible examples. And I think that really brought together the 360 of empowerment, right? So thinking about skill set and advancing skill set, collaboration and bringing people together, but also the market possibility of that. I think that's so key, that financial empowerment. That was one of our conversations in this series about, really thinking about business and entrepreneurship. So fantastic examples. Thank you for both of those. So as we think about the fact that we're in Black History Month, also happened to be an Engineers Week, is there a leader that you can reflect on who's inspired you?
There are so many. When I think about my own career journey and being a first, like the only Black woman engineer in the organization when I started in my early career, Shirley Chisholm really rose to the forefront. She was the first Black woman elected to the United States Congress, the first woman to be nominated president of the United States by a major party in her time. She really was a trailblazer in her time. And throughout her entire career and her tenure, she raised her voice for racial and gender equity unapologetically. And that, starting out in my career, I was not as bold per se, but listening to her messages and studying her movements and looking at all of the things she was able to achieve, it started, among others, obviously, but it just started to bolster that sense of unapologetic boldness and continuing to raise my voice and to know that I have a voice that matters. So she resonates with me. She has inspired me tremendously throughout my career, throughout my adulthood.
I love that example of Shirley Chisholm. I think about her oftentimes when I walk through our women's suffrage area. I think about the quote that she had, and I don't know the quote specifically, but it was essentially that if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring your own chair.
Bring your folding chair. Mm-hmm.
Yep, bring a folding chair with you. And I think about that so often. And, so thank you. I think she's a wonderful example. And I love that she's someone who's inspired you. That's marvelous. So for me, you're someone I see inspiring others. What drives you to do that? What drives you to support and inspire the leaders of tomorrow?
Again, this is a passion calling for me. Support, mentorship, and sponsorship matters. Representation matters, and so does exposure. My sister and I were fortunate that we had a high school science teacher who saw the potential in us to pursue careers in STEM. our parents were always engaged in our education. So between the three of them, exposing us to the Minority Introduction to Engineering program at Tuskegee was pivotal in that. So that exposure is key. To be an inspiration to others, particularly women of color in STEM, we've come a long way. And we've got so many avenues and programs like Project Lead the Way for middle school and high schoolers across the nation to start their journey into STEM disciplines very, very early. That didn't exist when I was coming up. But being that light, being that support, being that inspiration, being I see her, so now I can, is really, really critical, and it's important. So as much as I can share my experiences so that the generation coming behind are equipped and empowered and don't fall through some of those potholes that I did coming along, that's where mentorship really plays a key and critical role. And in that, I gained so much and learned so much through those relationships as well. So it's never a one-way relationship. And these are lifelong relationships. I still have amazing lifelong friendships now with former mentors and sponsors and advocates throughout my career at different organizations. And I still call on them as confidants when I'm making really hard and difficult decisions about my own career growth and trajectory and things that I'm interested in pursuing. So being that for others, I will say yes all day, every day.
Well, thank you so much for saying yes to our request to interview you again. You know, we find you to be such a light, and, you know, just the joy and commitment and effervescence you bring to these conversations. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing your example, and thank you for empowering the next generation. We really, you know, tremendous conversation today. Thank you for letting us learn more about Stanley Black & Decker's work and your investment and about you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, Cynthia. It is a pleasure.
Wonderful. And for all of you who are watching today, thank you so much for tuning into this series. We really hope that it's brought you a lift and that, you know, it's helped you celebrate Black History Month in a way that is impactful and future oriented, as well as being inspired by the leaders of the past. We hope you've had a chance to celebrate either from home with us, or perhaps you've made a trip here to Dearborn, Michigan, to the Henry Ford, where you can experience, you know, amazing stories, including that of Shirley Chisholm, right here in our museum, and be inspired every day by the inventors, entrepreneurs, and makers of the future and the past.